question. Do you all believe in love at first sight? Some would call it, thank you. Some would call it delusional, but when you're 17 years old and you're in a foreign country on your very first missions trip, I would say that anything is possible. It was the summer of 2010, and I was a rising junior in high school, and my church and I were traveling to Cusco, Peru for a 10-day trip. And I was so excited because I had never left the country before. This is my very first time, and I had never been on a missions trip before, so I was like double excited. I was traveling with pretty much my entire soccer team from the private school that I attended, so it was about to be lit. We were so excited to go to Peru. So we arrive at Peru and we drop off our bags at the hotel, and we decide to make the long trek to the orphanage where we're going to be doing the majority of our work. The orphanage is seated on this like beautiful grassy hill in rural Cusco, surrounded by all these fields. It's at the end of this long dirt road. So it's, picturesque, so beautiful. When we get to the orphanage, we see all the kids are outside and they're playing in the nearby field, just kicking around a soccer ball. And I noticed there's a young guy who's playing with them. He's like towering over all of them, but he's dribbling and kicking the ball and having a great time, smiling and laughing. And so we all decide we're gonna join in. This looks fun. Maybe we could teach them some of our skills, which is hilarious because we're just a bunch of white kids from Nashville, Tennessee, trying to teach these kids who've been playing soccer once they left the womb. So needless to say, we got schooled by a bunch of 6-year-olds. But I couldn't keep my eyes off of this man who was playing soccer and was so talented. His footwork was so good, and he was just smiling and was so comfortable in his skin, which was very tan, and he had these dark eyes and this dark hair, and I just was like enraptured by him. And so I was like, I'm gonna make it my mission to find out everything I can about this man. So the next day, I find out that his name is Billy. And I'm a little disappointed because I wanted to be like Eduardo or something like that. Javier, maybe, but I'll take it. So Billy, I find out, is a local, and he's also a professional soccer player himself. So, thank you, that's what I said. So he's a professional soccer player, and he volunteers his time at the orphanage because he just loves the kids. So sweet. And so that's why he was there all the time. He was playing soccer with the kids and hanging out and teaching them. And so I was like, all right, this like situation was like a Cristiano Ronaldo meets like Tim Tebow kind of thing. I was like, I don't really know what this is, but it's great. So we're all hanging out and having a great time. We're playing with the kids, doing soccer, and we have our meals together, which is a really nice part of this trip. And so one of our meals that we had, I get really nervous because Billy comes and sits down beside me, and I smile at him and he smiles at me, but then my smile fades when I see what they're serving us. Does anybody here have a beloved guinea pig at home? If you do, just cover your ears for just a moment. So they would grill those boys up and serve them over rice and hand it to you on a platter like it's just like a normal Tuesday, okay? So I was like, I don't want to try it. But Billy is like, es delicioso. He's like, you have to try it. He doesn't speak a lot of English. But I was like, okay, I'll try it. So very tentatively, I take a bite of this guinea pig. They call it cuy, by the way. That's their word for it, cuy. So I take a bite of this cuy, and the best way to describe it is like chicken, but make it slimy. So I took a bite, and I was like, pushed my plate. I was like, that's it. I can't do any more. And he just teased me for the rest of the meal. Could not do any more. So the next day, I'm deciding I'm going to learn more about this man because I'm so intrigued. And so I find out, I'm trying to ask him questions. I'm like, what are your favorite books? What music do you like to listen to? Are you single? Like the normal questions that you would ask someone. And I find out that he hated school, He doesn't like to read books, but that he does modeling work on the side. And I was like, say less. That'll do. So I convinced myself that opposites attract. I'm like, this is so much fun. So we actually get paired up one day to paint the outside of the building together, which is like a classic manual labor thing that they give you to do on a missions trip. So we're painting the outside of the building, and we're talking and chatting, and it kind of starts feeling like the moment in the rom-com. Y'all know, like in the Hallmark movies, like the Christmas ones, where let's say they're baking, and they like inexplicably have like flour all over each other. Like, and then they're like, oh my gosh, you're so cute, and like putting flour on each other's noses. Like, imagine that from the Hallmark movie, but with paint. So we're just like flirting it up, and Billy takes his roller and rolls it in the paint and then just rolls it up my side. And I was like, acted like I was like appalled, but I was like, you missed a spot. So we are flirting big time, and I'm loving it. And that night, it had gotten dark, and so he walked me back to the hotel, and I seized my opportunity and reached for his hand, and I grabbed it, and he squeezed my hand and held it all the way to the hotel. So sweet. Yeah, thank you. It's very sweet. I was so scared of the dark. I was like, someone needs to hold my hand. So he did. And from that point on, like the next couple of days, I was having so much fun soaking it all in. We were playing with the kids, doing soccer scrimmages, like having an amazing time. And then in the evenings, I would hop on the back of his dirt bike, and we would ride through the roads of Peru, squeezing his waist, driving into the sunset. Just amazing. And this was like the moment where it truly felt like a movie. I was like, now I really am the woman who upends her life and moves to a foreign country for a man she's just met. I was like, this is actually happening. Oh my God. You're probably wondering at this point where the adults are. And that is a fair question. I will tell you. So, the pastor had noticed that I had gotten a little chummy with Billy, and so he pulled me aside and he said, hey, you know what you're doing, and you're causing this boy to stumble. And you need to put a stop to it. So the only problem with that was that he was also my ex-boyfriend's dad. And so I told him that he needed to fix his crusty son before butting into my love life. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you agree. Didn't have any issues after that. And so we get to the end of this trip, just having the best time. The last night we decide to go all out, right? So we drive to Lima, which is the capital of Peru, and we go out to this really nice Brazilian steakhouse, and Billy joins us. And the dinner is like exquisite, so amazing. There's no cuy in sight, no guinea pigs to be had, just steak, and more steak, which is like my bread and butter. So loving it. The margarita mocktails were hitting. Everything was amazing. In my 17-year-old mind, I was like, this is living. Like, I have made it. I've never been happier. So we decided to keep the party going. There's a salsa bar next door. We were like, let's go. Let's go to the salsa bar. So we are all drinking more mocktails, having a great time. We're dancing. Everyone's so flushed and happy. And I have enough liquid courage, I guess, from the mocktail, and I asked Billy to dance. And so he's dancing, and he knows all the moves, of course. He's so good at it, showing me how to move my hips, teaching all of us how to dance salsa. And it's like this perfect, like, eat, pray, love moment. And so at one point, I just get really hot, so I go outside for some air, and Billy follows me. So we go outside, and we go for a walk through the streets of Lima and into the town square. And he gets real serious. And he turns to me and he says, mi amor, te amo mucho. Estoy tan feliz de haberte conocido. No quiero dejarte. ¿Puedo visitarte en América? I did not know what he said. ¿Qué? I did not know what he said, but I very confidently replied, una llama? Él ha supuesto ser para muerto. Which translates to, a llama, he's supposed to be dead. Which is from the 2000 hit movie Emperor's New Groove. Starring David Spade as the llama. It was one of the only phrases I knew in Spanish. I knew it would get a laugh, and Billy loved it. He laughed. Oh my gosh. But then, very unexpected thing happened. He started to dip his head towards me like this. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I froze, because I was like, I am about to receive the most magical kiss in Lima, Peru, in the middle of the night, in this street. And I was like, okay. Closed my eyes and waited for the kiss. And then I opened my eye, and he had ducked down and grabbed something out of his pocket. It was his phone. And he was scrolling on his phone. And I was like, okay. So he's scrolling, and then he shows me this picture on his phone. And this picture is a foot wearing a soccer cleat, kicking a soccer ball. And I was like, what is this? And he explained to me that it was his modeling gig. Only it was just his foot. And at that point, I got the ick. Do you guys know what that is? Like, the ick is when your initial attraction to someone flips to cringe and disgust. Inexplicably. Of course there's a reason, but you're just like, no, I can't do it anymore. And that's what happened to me when I realized that he was not a model, he was a foot model. So thankfully, at that point, our friends walked up. Oh my gosh. Just so you all know, the ick, the ick is so real. Let me give you a quick example of it, because I feel like it's important. Let's say you're getting to know somebody, and you're really hitting it off, and then you find out that they drive a Kia Soul. That is heartbreaking. Not the Kia Soul. Or you're on a first date and they are rude to the waiter. No. They ask you to split the bill. No. And you carry the entire conversation. Absolutely not. Gotta go. Or, I guess the final ick would be, God forbid, you're 17 years old in a foreign country for the first time, with a man that you are falling in love with, who tells you that he's an athlete and a model, but really he just sells feet pics for a living. Yikes. That's a big ick. So I was done after that. Our friends came up and we decided it was time to end the night, so we drove back to Cusco. And the next morning we went to the airport, and he came, of course, to say goodbye to everyone. And he told me that he would look me up on Facebook and send me a friend request. And I was like, you do that. Sounds good. Sounds good. Fully intending to delete that request. Oh my gosh. Girls, I just want to say, if you're 17, then it's okay if you are still figuring it out. I think that that's okay. But if you're a grown-ass woman, my advice to you is do not settle. Never settle. Because I thought that I had to travel across the world to find love, but it was actually waiting for me right here in Loudoun County, Virginia. So I'm a lucky girl. Thank you.